All right, let's get into it. Living with artificial intelligence, it's so much more than just a conversation about technology. It's really about who we are, and maybe even more, who we're becoming. So today, we're going to dive deep into how AI is actually reshaping our cultural identity.
So think about it for a second. The AI in your life, the one that picks your next movie or helps you write that email or even scans your resume. Is it just a tool, a helpful assistant, or is it subtly starting to direct your choices? This one question, really, it gets right to the heart of this complicated new relationship we have with machines.
And that, right there, is the huge shift we're all living through. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that computers were just instruments, right? They did calculations, they stored our files, but now AI is an active player in our world. It recommends, it mediates conversations, it literally shapes what we see and what we say. It's gone from being a calculator in our pocket to, well, something like a social presence in our lives.
So how do we get here? It wasn't just about the code getting smarter. It was about culture. It's about the stories we tell ourselves about AI and the roles we've given it that have actually shaped our reality. So let's take a look at how we turned AI from a simple tool into a teammate.
To really get our heads around this, we have to borrow an idea from the brilliant cultural theorist Stuart Hall. He argued that our identity isn't some fixed thing we're born with. No, he said it's a production, something that's never finished, always a work in progress. And this is so crucial because AI is now a powerful new force in that very process, and it's influencing how we see ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, so to break this all down, researchers have basically identified 4 main cultural scripts, think of them as narratives, that we use to understand AI's role in our lives. You can think of these as the characters we've cast AI to play in the big drama of modern life.
So here they are, the big 4. We see AI as a collaborator, helping us at work. We see it as a companion, offering a kind of friendship. We also see it as a threat, a risk to our jobs and our privacy. And finally, we see it as an authority, an objective, unbiased judge. The really interesting part is that we're constantly jumping between these scripts, sometimes seeing the very same AI in totally different ways depending on the context.
Let's start with the collaborator. The promise here is amazing, right? We can work smarter, create faster, be more productive, but the peril is very real. I mean, if an AI helps you write a report, who's the author? If it gives you bad advice and something goes wrong, who's accountable? This script really starts to blur lines that we used to think were crystal clear.
Then you've got the AI companion. On one hand, the promise is huge. It could fight loneliness, provide care for the elderly, or act as a tutor for a child, a massive potential for good. But it also brings up some really deep questions. Can a machine ever provide authentic emotion? And what happens if we become too emotionally dependent on our devices?
Now, the threat script, this is the one you see in all the headlines, right? The peril is pretty obvious. Fear of losing our jobs, of our privacy being invaded, maybe even of losing what makes us uniquely human. But here's a twist. This script actually has a promise. That fear, that anxiety, it can mobilize us. It pushes us to demand the regulations and safeguards that we so desperately need.
And finally, AI as the authority. This one is so powerful because it promises something we all crave: objectivity, a decision based on pure data, totally free of messy human bias. What's the peril? Well, we start to just trust these systems without question, even when they're complete black boxes, and, as we're about to see, are often deeply biased themselves.
So here's the kicker. These 4 scripts aren't just abstract ideas. They actually change how we act. We're now, all of us, performing our identities for a brand new kind of audience, one that isn't even human. Let's dig into how that actually works.
This has created what you might call a layered audience. Think about it. When you write a resume, you're not just writing for a person anymore. You're writing for the algorithm that's going to scan it first. We're all learning how to perform for both humans and machines, learning to make ourselves legible to these automated systems.
And this is totally redefining our roles, isn't it? With all this generative AI, many of us are becoming less of a pure author and more like a curator, or an editor, or an orchestrator. The key skill is now prompt literacy. It's the art of asking the right questions, of editing the output, of directing the AI. Our whole identity as a creator is being rewritten.
Okay, this brings us to a really, really critical point. These systems, they are not neutral. They are built by people, inside of existing power structures, and they can carry all of those inequalities forward in incredibly powerful and often hidden ways.
The work of scholar Safia Omoja Noble was absolutely groundbreaking on this.
She showed how something as simple as a search engine can end up reinforcing incredibly harmful stereotypes. The algorithms aren't, programmed to be racist, but they end up amplifying the biases that are already swimming around in our society and in our data.
So let's be super clear about what we're talking about when we say algorithmic bias. It's when a system takes the existing biases of our world, often tied to race or gender or class, and basically launders them, presenting them back to us as objective, data-driven facts. It's discrimination that's been embedded into what looks like neutral code.
And this isn't just theory. This is real life. It's happening every day. We've seen hiring tools that were trained on past data, so they automatically penalize resumes that have words more associated with women. We've seen loan algorithms deny people based on their zip code, which is often just a stand-in for race. This is that hidden code of inequality in action.
And a lot of this is powered by an economic model that Shoshana Zuboff famously called surveillance capitalism. The logic is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. 1. Your data gets collected from everything you do online. 2. Powerful algorithms use that data to predict what you'll do next. And 3. Those predictions are used to nudge and shape your choices, all for somebody else's profit.
So, with all that on the table, AI as our collaborator, our companion, a source of bias, a force shaping our behavior, how are we supposed to think about ourselves in all this? It might be time to adopt a whole new model for what human identity even is. Decades ago, the theorist Donna Haraway said something really radical. She said, "I would rather be a cyborg than a goddess." Now, she wasn't talking about becoming a robot. She was talking about breaking down the old, clean boundaries between human and machine. For her, the cyborg was a metaphor for a new, hybrid identity, and boy, is it more relevant today than ever.
This is the reality of where we are. It's a simple, powerful equation. Our sense of self, our creativity, even our very thought processes are now just so deeply intertwined with artificial intelligence. We are all becoming hybrid selves. And I want to be really clear here. This is not science fiction. This is right here, right now. When you use a Maps app to get somewhere, you're outsourcing a part of your brain. When you use an AI to brainstorm, you're literally thinking with a machine. When you pop a filter on a photo, you are co-creating your own image. Our identity is already a hybrid, a product of human and machine working together. And that leaves us with one last massive question. If our identities are always in process, and AI is now a central part of that process, who gets to write the script? Is it us? Is it the companies building the tech? Is it governments? This is the fundamental question of power and agency that we all have to face as we continue to live alongside these intelligent machines.